Amin and Aditya, firstly, I think today is very special because not only am I talking with two friends, but here we all are celebrating 20 years of Lagan. So, firstly, a huge congratulations to you both and the entire team as well for commemorating so many amazing years of the amazing film.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wow. Okay, so now I think as we know, the film it basically symbolizes the strength of unity, showcases a battle without bloodshed as well. I mean, given the fact that we've all been fighting a global calamity, what resonance do you feel the film has, especially given recent times as well?
What I'd like to say is, Lagan now is not only just a film. It's become cult. It's become and it's also become a philosophy. It's become for me. It's become a way of life. It's like the movie symbolizes courage, commitment, unity, togetherness, honesty of how the film was made uh, by Ashutosh and Aamir Khan. So it symbolizes all these factors which I just told. And if all of us, if the world believes in this kind of a philosophy of such or sahas hai jiske man mein, ant mein jeet usi hai, I think it'll be a better place.
For me, see the story and the film, we all have already come to understand, and we know what its message was, the triumph of the human spirit and all. For me, Lagan symbolizes the greatest friendships that we all eventually came out with. We were all from different backgrounds. Actually, Addy and I, you can say, and even Zuchi, you can say, were the urban boys with Aamir. While the other seven were mostly from rural India, and they were vegetarians. Some of them were steadfast. Uh, I would say, real conservative kids, and the relationships that we kind of got from there. Today I look back and I think, of course, I don't say it was very smooth, but I must say one thing: it was amazing, and it was worth every care that we took of each another and every gesture that we showed one another really gave us all a lot of love. I remember Rajesh Vivek used to tell me, azda mara, sher mara, kya mara? Apne andar ke janwar ko mara, to tune kuch mara. Now,
Wow.
these are things that have lived with me. So, for me, Addy and I were friends before Lagan.
Hmm.
But I came out, Amir and I were acquainted before Lagan. Ashutosh and I were acquainted and friends before Lagan. But the others that I today, so for me, Lagan gives me a lot of pride. My wife I got from Lagan, my soulmate. So for me, when I look at what Lagan gave me, or rather what I got out from Lagan, I just think I think I'm one of the biggest takers from Lagan. And so for me, Lagan is part of my life in much more personal way. My kids, are part of Lagan,
Yeah.
because Charlotte, my wife, is from there, and so that's Lagan for me.
Absolutely well said. I think both of you, your association with Ashutosh Gowariker and Amir Khan goes back to the earliest days of your careers as well.
Yes.
I think, for you, it was what Pehla Nasha, and I think Aditya, for you, it was Jojita Vahi Sikandar. So, how did that sense of familiarity, I think, with them two as the director, producer, and of course actor, how did that familiarity help you and make the process more feasible in that sense?
See, for me, actually, Amir and I worked on a film called Gulam, and
Yeah.
Ashutosh was the reason why I did Gulam, because Ashutosh and Amir were very close friends, and Amir was asking him about an actor. So in that, I play a boxer who's called Kala Tiger. So anyway, I got close to Amir during the shoot, and we became friends. And Ashutosh and I, quite amazingly, Ashu has narrated Lagan to me at my home in 1996, because Ashu and I acted in a film called Goonj. It was a film that late Jala Laga had directed, and it was shot in 89. So Ashu and I became friends since then, and I have a twin brother, Kareem. And so the
Mhm.
two of us and Ashu became very close. And during all these moments and times, Ashutosh used to narrate different scripts to us and ask for reactions. And Ashu, in fact, Addy remembers very clearly. Addy
Yeah.
saw a short film made by Ashutosh. It was about two brothers who decide out of boredom to become murderers. And Ashu directed us. It was his first film. It was a film that he was making to show the world that he could tell a story. And he shot it on a video camera. And he used to come home and we used to shoot it. So Ashu and I go back so long. Now I come to your answer about how familiarity actually, you can say, also became a very big problem,
Okay.
because everyone knows familiarity actually is great. You get a role, you get a chance. But actually, Ashu and Aamir, both of them are actually real sticklers for professionalism and auditioning actors and casting them only if they suit the role. And I was like, Ashu, come on, you can't be auditioning me. He said, hello, I'm going to audition everybody. And if I don't audition you, Amir's going to audition you and get even more upset. So I said, hey, but I've worked with Amir. Amir knows my capacity as an actor. He said, that doesn't matter. So actually, it became more of a problem, because then we knew that the pressure was on us. Your friends know you,
Yeah.
they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses. So in fact, and I'm talking about this on behalf of Addy and me, because both of us were in that same predicament. And Amir had told Ashu that I want to cast bigger names if I possibly can in the film,
Oh.
or I want to cast, let's say, certified actors, from NSD. I want to have either I go with complete quality, highest quality, or great stardom. So he was
Mhm.
talking about those two options, and Addy and I didn't fit in any of those two.
Any either of those.
So you won't believe it. Ashu told me that he wants to cast me in the role of Bagha. Now I've heard the script and I know Bagha, and I was like, whoa, the guy, and he said, yeah. So I mean, why don't you start to learn to play the drum? So I said, Arey, I'm a dancer. I can play the drum. He said, no, 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 no. You don't play the drum like a dancer. You play the drum like a guy who was in 1893. So you start going and take this Nasik dhol and, this old kind of drumming, that's desi drumming that they do on the streets. And so I went and I learned to drum for 3 months. And then Ashu saw me drum, was impressed with what I showed him, and then took me with him to Amir's house. And he told Amir, I still remember, he said, you wait out. And he went in and he said, I have a surprise for you. Do you have 2 minutes? He said, yeah, yeah, Ashu, bol. So he said, Amin, andara. So he saw me, Amin, he used to always call me Kala Tiger. Hey, Kala
Ah.
Tiger, tu kya kar raha hai? So I said, and had a drum with me. So he made two and two. He said, Acha, dikha. And I played the drum. He
Mm.
heard me play the drum and he said, wow. And Ashu said, I want him to audition for Bagha. Is that good with you? He said, yeah, that's damn good. Yeah. If he's done all this already, I'm sure we can test him. So Ashu said, great. Now that you're happy with this one, I have one more card up my sleeve. And he said, I mean, go out. And now I'm telling you, Addy was with me outside. And he said,
Yeah.
Aditya, andara. So I left and Addy came in. And Addy had kind of worked a little on something that he was going to show Amir. Addy, why don't you tell
I
Anuj what?
yeah
Please.
I'd worked on my bowling action and batting stance and my limp hand,
Right.
the polio affected hand. I'd worked on that stance, uh, and Amir also, like Amin said, Amir knew me from Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar, and I was also the assistant director of Akele Hum Akele Tum. So for us, for me and Amin, uh, our our association with them goes back a long way, but we had to go through a lot of auditions, and it was we had to be really bang on. In fact, I lost around 5 6 kgs before I actually gave the audition, because Ashu had already told me, boss, you're little, uh, you know,
Yeah.
you need to
Healthy.
lose at least 5 kilos, and
Yeah.
I lost him, and I frankly that time I did not know what role I was going to be auditioning.
Okay.
Amin used to help Ashu in writing also. In fact, Amin has written Swadesh with Aamir. In case you with Ashutosh,
Oh
And
wow.
Amir was
Swadesh. Yeah,
producing
in
it.
case you didn't know that,
And
and
at that
Okay.
Aamir
time,
was producing it that time.
yeah.
So Amin already knew a bit of Lagan script. I did not know what I was auditioning. But and the Because of my role in Jojita Woy Sikandar and my personality, Amir always thought that I am more of a city boy. And will I be able to pull off Kachra? Because Kachra was a very complex character.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Ashu really, really believed in me, and he cast me for Kachra. But I would say the burden was big on me and me. And my audition went really well. I think Aamir was convinced with my audition.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, what a journey and what an experience that was. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it's just it's so vivid. I can just visualize as you were describing to me the process of it. I could just visualize that. But I think what I really, especially with your characters in Lagan, because I think every character, has their own sort of power and sort of uh we still remember them, and they're sort of evergreen moments. We still remember them. But I think Baga and Kachra are two characters who are somewhat marginalized, by the main group of people because of their, shortcoming. Obviously Baga was unable to speak, whereas like Kachra was obviously he had a limp hand. But I think what I really, really love about that those two characters is that their shortcoming in a way symbolized strength and hope, because that became ultimately their biggest strengths. And I think that was so fascinating. So how at that time did you view the characters at that point?
Kachra itself, the character, is the symbol, and he, because of Kachra's weakness, the character Kachra came out strong.
Hmm.
It was because of Kachra's disabilities. He was a strong person in the film,
Hmm.
and Bhuvan, the character, took that out of Kachra and believed in Kachra and convinced the villagers that this untouchable boy is going to be the savior of our Lagan.
Hmm.
And Kachra is a character which a very sympathetic character, and it's while I was playing Kachra, I had anyways isolated myself, and Ashu had isolated me because I was the last person to start shooting for the film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, means out of all the characters, my entry in the film is the last. I joined the team in last,
Yeah.
and probably Ashu planned it that way, that he will shoot with me last. But he used to call me always every day on the set. I had to be there, and I had to get into the Kachra's costume, get myself on the set, and be isolated and not be amongst any of the villages or the cast, so that I would feel uh, like an untouchable myself and like an outcast, and that came really it came across really strong.
I think whilst playing that actually, and I think this is very fascinating for me because I don't think I've heard this experience before. Um, so what did you discover the most during that process when you were forced in a way to literally live like an outcast? What did you discover the most about yourself as a person, and perhaps the plight of other untouchables, maybe who were treated in that same manner back then as well?
See, I discovered that it's really painful, and I've the plight of that desolate human being. It's like, and I felt the pain, and the pain came across quite a lot on screen, and genuinely, literally, there was one time, I think if Amin remembers, Ashu made me sweep the village. He used to make me sweep the village.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, not on a regular basis. He just Did that once because that time we were also getting ourselves tanked. All of us, we were getting ourselves tanked. So, and I swept the whole village, and in fact, nobody knew me except the cast of Lagaan that Aditya Lakhia is playing Kachra. The crew and the Bhuj villagers who used to come to the shoot every day. Nobody knew me, so nobody spoke to me at that time. So it was only after 1.5 months of after I started shooting, everybody got to know, okay, oh, this guy is playing Kachra, and it was amazing. It was just amazing experience. Amazing experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think a film like Lagaan will be made, and the prep we had to go through the prep. I had to be Kachra. I could not be Aditya Lakhia anymore. And Amin could not be Amin Hajee. He had to be Baagha. He had to be the mute.
Yeah.
Amin was the soothsayer of the rains. That's a very fantastic what do you call beautiful metaphor, that he's the one who calls the rains. He's the one who spots the rains. Beautiful metaphor. So every character has this kind of metaphor.
Yes.
Not only me. I would not only Kachra's character. I would like to speak about all the characters because they have their own pain and their own metaphors and their own lives.
Yes. I mean, I would love to know a bit more about your process actually, because I know you mentioned about the very interesting auditioning process that you had. But what about when it actually came to the prep? Was it as heavy duty as what Aditya faced as well?
See, according to me, Adito went through a complete catharsis. So I would tell you, Addy had to work on an emotional level much more, while I had to work on a physical level. So I can say that I could see Addy, and Addy is a friend of mine. And I could see Addy, being isolated. I was told by Ashu that you can't be hanging with him. You can't be, just, giving him your high fives and your hugs and all. You just maintain at least on your set. I just don't want you to distract him. Actually, Ashu kept thinking Addy is going to be distracted, which actually at that point of time, I wasn't understanding. But I still remember one evening we were having a drink in his room and Ashu had told me, Amin, I don't want you to go and spend time with him. I was like, okay, why? He said, Amin, I just want him to feel isolated. I want him to know what the pain is of being isolated. So that was a very emotional catharsis, according to me, that Addy went through, which actually you can see in the film. So you can, that according to me, Addy's method or Ashu's method on Addy made Addy come across really, really as a pained character. You feel empathy, you feel sympathy, you feel embarrassed, you feel ashamed for the way we look at those kind of people and how we behave in our in our, let's say, in our societies, in our clans.
Yeah.
So that was something for Addy. As for Baga, it was very physical. So I had I have been a professional dancer,
Right.
and Ashu has known of that. And so I have been into a lot of physical, my physique and all were quite things I needed to play with. And Ashu had told me, kind of, I don't want you to get lean, I want you to look very kind of like a patta, like a in the olden days they never had six packs.
Yes.
They had bulky, more physical, physically strong wrestlers kind of physiques. And
Yeah.
so he used to always tell me, I mean, just remember, whenever you're performing, you're Stallone, but you just can't speak. So every time you're going to react, think of how Stallone would react in very physical and very kind of full of energy, and go there. And so we were both given completely different exercises, and I think our briefs were amazing because Ashu was definitely in control. And so Bagha, there's a line he says, one of the characters in Lagaan says, "Ek ko dhol pitne ke alawa kuch nahi aawat hai." Or dusre ko, so there are only two people who have joined him. One is the mute and the other one is the village, let's say the village
Outcast.
eccentric. Yeah, the village eccentric. That's
the shaman,
Guran.
yeah.
So what happens? He says, "Ek ko dhol pitne ke alawa kuch nahi aata hai." So what happens when you say marginalized? You're right, because see, today we've turned as a society very politically correct. But at that time, they would call him Kachra, they would call you Bagho,
Yeah.
Mukko.
Yeah.
There was no there was no apology for just treating you. So Bagho also means Bagho, as you know in Gujarati, also means a little bit of a wacko,
Whacked
guy,
out.
A
a
bit,
Bagho the,
bit
you know,
crazy. Mm.
yeah.
बाघोच है.
So
ये तो बात
Bagho
है, हाँ.
Bagho was that. So there was an eccentric, then there was a wild guy, and then there was a marginalized in terms of religion and in terms of caste. So these were like Ashu had got it really well. The society he represented it of 1893 really well.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah, very, very well said. Is a beautiful film which talks about a battle without the bloodshed. But as we know, in our Indian history, I think a lot of blood has been spilled. A lot of sacrifices have been made. So I guess in that sense, when you have done a film like Lagan, where it shows a very wonderful side of history that we wish that was true. How do you guys feel about that? Do you kind of wish that we also had uh, chapters in our history where there wasn't any bloodshed spilled, especially now, given over time, reflecting back on that?
It was Gandhiji's philosophy also,
Yeah,
uh, battle without bloodshed. So I'm
yeah.
sure a lot of that also went into Ashu's creative mind when while he was writing Lagan. Uh, and Unfortunately, yes, there has been a lot of bloodshed during our freedom struggle. But I guess freedom struggles are not all over the world. Freedom struggles are really painful and uh, fought
Mm,
with. You know what I'm trying to say. You know,
yeah.
it's and you wish that freedom struggles and any kind of a struggle is fought without bloodshed, but unfortunately, it is not. And I mean, Lagan symbolizes the fact that uh, Gandhi's philosophy, which we should all believe in.
Mm, yeah. Very well said.
Yeah, that's what. And uh, yeah, Gandhiji's philosophy means it Lagan symbolizes peace, unity, togetherness, like I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
and we should all follow that. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, what about you? What would you like to add to that?
For me, Lagan, for me, see, again, I'm telling you, it's quite, I would say I'm speaking in hindsight. I'm not just speaking about the script, but
Yeah.
about 20 years of Lagan. And I'm talking about how many other things I took away from it. And for me, it symbolizes the triumph of the human spirit. It
Mm,
symbolizes the power to dream. Both Addy and I actually have now become, Addy has acted and produced his own film.
mm,
I have directed and written my own film
yeah.
and even produced it. And I think this conviction of believing in your dreams comes to me from Lagan. For me, Lagan is actually a great. I always tell people I'm a pass out from the Lagan University. I'm a graduate of the Lagan University, and that university taught
Yeah.
me that university really taught us to dream. I saw Ashutosh's dream coming true because Ashu was a friend of mine since 95, 96. I mean, we were together in 80s, 89 as actors, but I'm saying he narrated Lagan to me. It took him nearly 7 years to make that film. And I saw his capacity and conviction to dream. I saw Aamir's faith and belief in him and Aamir stood by him. Like they are like the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They came together
Mhm.
and they just killed it. And for me, I learned when we celebrated 15 years of Lagan, we had a function again, or I think it was 10 years. I'm trying to
10,
remember.
10 years,
10
10
years.
years, 10.
And that day, Javed Akhtar Saab was on stage, and I said, and Aamir asked me to say something. He said, Amin, tell me, what did you learn from Lagan? How was your experience? And I was in the audience and I stood up and said, I learned to dream. And I said that day, I said, Javed Saab, one day I'll be standing there where you are today to proudly say that I can do what I do. I'm going to end up, making my film. I'm going to end up dreaming. I'm going to end up believing. And I'm going to end up achieving. They say conceive, believe, achieve. So for me, For me, Lagan is conceive, believe, achieve. When Bhuvan says we can beat them, when Bhuvan says that this is a mauka, ये दुविधा नहीं है, ये मौका है, मौका. सच और साहस है जिसके मन में, अंत में जीत उसी की रही. So for me, that is Lagan. The conviction, the belief in your dreams. Anyway, Addy used to say when he was Kachra and he used to come on stage on the world tour, he used to say, I still remember, किसी कमजोर को कुछ, don't think him to be weak, because वो भी कभी भी आके he can take a hat trick. So that power of conviction comes to us, underdogs, from Lagan, from Aamir, from Ashutosh. So for me, that's what I take back from Lagan.
Oh, powerful, extremely, extremely inspiring and powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think also, though, I must touch upon the fact that the movie was also, I believe, what India's official nomination for the Oscars as well. But honestly,
before you say, sorry. It was the only Indian movie, one of the only Indian movies to actually reach the best foreign film category.
The best 5 films that year.
Yes. No other film has reached, although a lot of films go to get to the Oscars, but none of them reached that.
Were selected.
Oh, yeah. None of them were selected. Only Lagan is selected. No other film has been selected. Maybe I think Mother India was selected, but apart from after that, no other film.
Right. But I think it's wonderful that was the case, and I was really, really proud when I found out as well. I mean, I was very, very young, but I still knew what a big achievement and monumental achievement that was even back then. But we often have a few films that might get shortlisted or might get selected for it, but they never end up winning. And I will always feel so sad and upset that Lagan never won, and it's so deserved to win. Why do you feel this is the case, though? Why do you think we didn't actually win? And did you feel disappointed that we didn't actually win any awards at the Oscars at that time?
When our whole team, Lagan team, were assembled in Aamir's office, and we all saw the Oscar ceremony live early in the morning. We all had got together, and the whole team and a lot of crew was also there. And obviously, it was disappointing. We felt really sad because we were so attached to the film, all of us, and it was that time it was so fresh, and we are still extremely attached. But obviously, I mean, Lagan is the movies which were opposite Lagan. What I remember was No Man's Land, Emily. So No Man's Land for the US, I would say, was very relevant at what was happening that time in the current. I think it was a war which was going on Yugoslavia, or even. So and the US was involved in that war. They had sent their troops that time. So it was a very relevant subject for the international world, No Man's Land, which won against Lagan. And I guess that's what mattered for them.
Right.
But a lot of people around the world did feel that Lagan should have got it for its sheer spectacular.
For its sheer excellence. I think that's the best way we can describe it.
And a first movie of its kind to hit the Oscars.
Exactly.
I mean, because Lagan is not just a regular, Hindi film.
No, it isn't.
It's something. It's a phenomenon. And the good part is Lagan had everything about what a Hindi film has. Song, dance, everything. So that was the good. Obviously, we felt sad.
Yeah.
Of course we felt, but I felt we had already won because we reached a pinnacle, where they say the best 5 in the world are chosen.
Yeah.
And also the kind of an awareness we created of the kind of stories we could tell out of India, we achieved. the entire world stood up and took notice of it. And I have been married to an English girl, and I have to tell you, Anuj, the best thing I learned about what Lagan taught me and post Lagan is that we are actually all more similar than different. It's so amazing that like our history does tell us things that are unfortunate, and they make us think differently. But I when I see my mother-in-law and father-in-law sad and shed a tear when Charlotte, when they drop Charlotte and me at the airport and she comes back to India, I realize that unki maa bhi roti hai. Or I feel that all of us are actually just more similar than different. All we have to look at is stop looking at the narrative that has been told or has been shared to us by people. And that old one story, one narrative that these guys were bad and those guys were good, and that you can see happening today in many other parts of the world. And that old narrative, or that, let's say, that single narrative, has been actually causing the human race to be more divided and isolated. So when I see, whether we won or not, people saw us and said, wow, I think India makes great cinema. And that for me was our victory. The other thing for me that I take back, despite not winning, was the fact that everywhere people, when they see a movie or when they hear a story, each and every one of them considers themselves the underdog. And that's quite amazing. So the deep rooted you can say feelings of wanting an underdog to succeed is a universal phenomena.
Absolutely.
And every human being feels that way. So when, even though we didn't win, I felt as underdogs we came and we made our presence felt.
Yeah.
So people the respect they have for Lagan internationally is good for me. I don't need the medal or the stripes, because we did win them.
Yeah.
Despite not getting that, so we were remembered. We became, in fact, I think we became more memorable because we didn't win it. People said, wow, here comes another underdog and doesn't get it. So for me, it was something that I take back with a lot of objectivity and a lot of optimism, and I feel it's okay. It's part of the journey.
And a lot of the times, because you did play such iconic characters and were part of such an epic and legendary film, how did life change for you after? I mean, we'll be talking about your journeys as filmmakers very, very shortly, but how did your life change subsequent, after playing Baagha and after playing Kachra? How did life change for you?
Obviously, for me, and I'm sure for Amin, the fame, we got our success, and for an actor, it's very important to be recognized and to be appreciated by by the audience and by public and by people, and mostly to get respect. Lagan for me like changed all that, and got me fame, got me respect. It got me a lot of more work as an actor. I mean, after pre-Lagan, I must have done around 5, 6 films, and but post-Lagan, I must have done I've done around 40, so 50
Wow.
probably. So so obviously Lagan is the torchbearer of all of them,
Hmm. Hmm.
and people recognize me everywhere, even after 20 years. People just even I'm walking, whether I'm walking in Mumbai or whether I'm walking in Ahmedabad, people just point out, "Hey, Kachra," and I just wave, and I don't feel insulted. I feel really proud, and I just wave because Kachra, the character, has given me everything. It's given me life,
Yeah,
made
absolutely.
my life.
Absolutely. It's the spinner that saved everyone, I think. And that is definitely a sign of
There,
courage
there
and
are memes. There are Kachra memes which are going around all over. There's so many memes of Kachra
oh wow.
which
And
are floating around.
how do you feel about that? Because I know memes can be quite patronizing sometimes. So how do
No,
you
no,
deal with
I take you have to take them with a pinch of salt, and I feel really proud. Means if there are memes of mine, that means I'm really I'm known. I'm very well known.
yeah.
Memes are only made of popular people. They're not made of just but it just makes me feel proud.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, very
I
true.
mean, there are memes like world's best spinners. One will be Harbhajan, one will be Muralidharan, Shane Warne, and there'll be Kachra.
That's great. Well, they're not lying. I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah,
Though
they're not
Kachra
lying.
was a great spinner.
Yeah,
So,
first hat trick taker of the world. Yeah.
absolutely, very, very true. I mean, what about you? How did life change subsequently for you post Lagan?
Actually, Lagan, in a way, for me as an actor, spoilt me, and in fact, it even, you can say, to a point, made me it like destroyed my career as an actor. I didn't want to do any other work that I was offered, because it was not really matching up to the kind of see. So we had so many strengths in our characters, individual characters. We were all, in a way, you can say, heroes.
Yeah.
And there was so much, if Kachra could take a hat trick, Bagha could take a catch, or Bagha could hit a ball out of the stadium, or things like. So we all became so popular and famous, or you can say that also gave us a lot of individual satisfaction, fulfilled us. So
Hmm.
when I would be narrated another script that they want me to play that they wanted me to play a character in, or a role in, I
Hmm.
would always hear it and feel, nahi yaar, I'm not excited. It's not exciting me. And actually I ended up saying no to more work after Lagan than I did.
Oh,
And so, of course, one of the reasons I did that was because I was never feeling excited. I mean, what would that role get me? Nothing. It was not exciting me. It was nothing. So then Ashutosh heard my predicament and heard me tell him the whole story, and said, Amin, why don't you write Swades with me? So I said,
okay.
Ashu, are you crazy? I mean, don't try and help me because I'm going through this conflict. And he said, no. I mean, I truly believe you have what it takes to become a great writer. Why don't you work with me? I said, Ash, listen, I'm not a fool, okay? I know you're trying to help me out from this predicament I'm in. He said, I mean, I have heard you react to Lagan. I have heard you react to scripts that I have narrated to you. I really think you should consider writing as an alternate, because if you're going to be saying no to work, you're eventually going to end up, and you're going to end up jobless.
Hmm.
So why don't you seriously consider writing Swades with me? And that's when Charlotte and I both. So Charlotte was doing her PhD in India at that time. She's an anthropologist. So
Okay.
Charlotte and I both co-wrote Swades with Ashutosh, and
Wow.
so that's how I feel. So Lagan made me, you can say, fulfilled me as an actor, and then because I wasn't getting a higher high from other work, I took up writing, and so Lagan gave me Swades.
Wow, what a story. And I think since then as well, I think you both have done so exceedingly well. I think in terms of pursuing the creative paths, whether that's as in acting or directing. You helmed Koi Jaane Na, which is a psychological thriller. And I know Aamir does a very special number with Eli Avram in that as well, Harfan Mola, which everyone has pretty much heard and loved. And of course, Aditya, you've made an uplifting film called Kape, which we had the pleasure to screen at the UK Asian Film Festival, and that was commemorated there as well. It was the world premiere.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, yes.
so that was incredible. But I think to reach this point in life for you both as creatives and as artists, I mean, what have been some of the most difficult challenges you've had to overcome, and what gave you the strength to overcome those challenges? What do you think? Aditya, would you like to go first for this?
I'd like to say that my experience with being an assistant director. See, apart from I've been an actor for like more than 30 years, all and counting.
Hmm.
Since my first film, Om Dargadar in '87, and I assisted Ashutosh in Pehla Nasha, his first film, and I assisted Mr. Mansoor Khan in Akele Hum Akele Tum. So all these experiences made me the producer I am, what I made, Kape.
Mm.
It as a producer, you definitely you can't just be the money bags and have crores and crores of money and here's the money and I'm the
Yeah,
producer.
yeah, of
No,
course.
you got to know the working of what's happening while the shooting is going on. You need to feel the pain of an actor or a crew member, what is going on. I Because I'm an actor, I know what goes through an actor's mind psychologically, you know,
Yeah.
and also the crew. So and since I had already worked behind the scenes, and then Lagan really helped me. Uh, Ashu was a really calm, a very calm director. I did not see him. I don't remember him losing his cool on the sets of. He was always right there, and that's what I also maintain, calm and peace. And I wanted to be, as a producer of Cupping, I was like a common man. I used to just come on the set and get into my costume and just lie around anywhere. I was never, one of those shouting kind of a producer, which I'm not. My personality is not. And I made sure that everybody stayed together, in one hotel. Just because I was the producer and actor of the film, I wasn't staying in some other five-star. I was staying where everybody was staying, and I was also sharing a room.
Wow.
So you,
Amazing.
so it's well the unity and togetherness, and to get the cast and crew together to make them feel that everybody is equal is
Yeah.
what I do.
And I remember our Q&A that we did as well, Aditya, and you did mention actually then that there was so many hurdles you came across as well. Like I think you had to
So many
reshoot,
hurdles.
I think one of the schedules
Yeah.
because of the location problems. So I
Yes.
mean, that must have really kind of been an eye-opening experience for you for your first kind
Oh
of
my.
film where
Oh,
you're
it was. It was. Yeah, yeah. I mean, one day before the shoot, our main location, the sarpanch of the village gives me a call and says, "You cannot get the village anymore because we don't want because we all have decided that we don't want a film to be shot in our village." But I said, "Boss, you should have told me this 2 months ago when we have already done the scheduling of the film, short division of the film." But like I said, I just kept my calm, and because then luckily we had two other locations, and we started shooting there, and we searched for another village while we were shooting in the school, and we decided that we'd shoot location wise,
Mm,
film Kape, finish the
yeah.
school, finish the barren land, and then last go to the village. So
Ah,
I had around 15 days of time before we started shooting for the village.
okay.
So it was tense. It was really tense. But as they say, the show must go on, and I could not stop the shoot.
Yeah. No, definitely.
For me, see, I became a writer because I believed a writer was an MVP, most valuable player. As Vikram Bhatt explained to me that, I mean, when you write, you're as close as you can be to God. You can give somebody life, you can give somebody a name, you can give somebody a religion, you can destroy somebody, you can give him a miracle, because a writer is like, he writes it the way he feels he wants to end. So I became a writer because it gave me the power to dream and imagine and tell stories like I wanted to. Now, when I managed to do that, and I wrote with Vicky, I wrote Haunted, 1920, Evil Returns, Ankur Arora murder case, hate story. I worked on with him. I worked on Dangerous Ishq. I did Bhag Johnny, a little work on it. I did about a dozen films with him.
Mm,
I started to feel that as a writer, I have now achieved what I wanted to. I managed to tell about a dozen stories, partly co-written, partly author-backed. I said, now I have finished enjoying that high. The next high I want to actually enjoy is directing those very stories I write. And how would it be? Because sometimes when you see someone else tell your story, you like it, but you don't always love it. You think you could have done it slightly differently, or you had written it like this but he interpreted it like that, or she felt it should go this way.
Yeah.
So then for me the next big thing was to direct my first film or direct my own film. And so I started writing Koi Janina in December 2012.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
I said I want to go out and tell my own story. In fact, 1920 Evil Returns had released and had done well. So now I had, as a writer, got Swades, Haunted, 1920 Evil Returns as films that people had seen and liked. I was very confident. I said, let me go out there and tell my story. So then I started wanting to make this film, and you won't believe it. It took me 9.5 years to get that idea that I had written
Wow.
released. It released in May, on the 27th of May 2021.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
9.5 years for me. And these 9.5 years just were crazy because everyone I narrated to, out of the, let's say, the 200 narrations I gave, 185 people said it's a great script. So that great myth that I had, that if you have great content, you will find someone to back you, didn't happen. So the next big thing that you really need, or the biggest challenge I had, was getting someone with resource, with money, who believed in that. I
Yeah.
met a lot of actors who liked the script. So again, it was not working because those actors who liked the script didn't still have that kind of an aura or a star power that a
Hmm.
man with the money would say, okay, I'll back you. So they were good actors, they were talented actors, they were stars in their own right, but not big enough for someone to
Commercial.
say, here is the money to make it. So the biggest lesson I learned is that talent, creativity, and everything in that space is respected only to one point. The other thing that you need then, and the bigger thing right now in the eyes of the world, is money. You need someone with money to say, here I am, and I'm going to put my money, and back you. So that is the biggest lesson I learned from Koi Janina. And until Aamir didn't, so Aamir heard the script first and told me, make the film, go ahead and make it. It's a great script. So I am telling you, despite Aamir's blessings, I couldn't piece the project to the point of where it would go on the flow. And
Wow.
remember, there are many people whose films go on the flow, they stop in the middle. Many people's films are made and completed, but nobody wants to release them. Because after you finish making a film, you need another 4 5 crore rupees to market it, to sell it, to make prints of it. So the big M is what I learned. You respect the big M.
Hmm.
Money makes the world go round, and that is my big
Yeah.
lesson. So despite having a good script, despite making a decent film, people can't get that out there. So
Hmm.
it is finally someone who has the money who has to back you. And I'm very proud and grateful to both Aamir Khan and Mr. Bhushan Kumar for having believed in my script. For Aamir to have told me, Amin, I'm going to do a special appearance for you in your film.
Yeah.
For everyone else to then see that confidence and faith that he put in me and in the script I had, and to back me. So I definitely say you need luck. Luck and money are the two big things that I take back from Koi Janina. And then I say talent. So
Hmm.
these are my biggest lessons from Koi Janina.
Very, gosh, yes, absolutely. And I think even the fact that I think a great question I'd like to pose to you both, because you are filmmakers and producers now as well. Given the pandemic and given the fact that we're now more sort of, the audience has now become more driven towards watching content on OTT platforms, how do you think this has changed the game now in terms of perhaps profit making, in terms of gaining backing as well? How do you think it's changed the game now?
For a film like mine, for Kape, uh, the script demanded that we go to a lot of film festivals and hopefully get selected to good film festivals around the world, and then come to him.
Hmm.
That was a very important part of Kape. Because we knew the subject, We loved the subject, we knew the script, and we knew that it had to go that way because it had to make a name internationally and then come to India. And then, hopefully somebody will take it. An OTT platform or since the pandemic, luckily for us, we finished the film before the lockdown last year. Luckily, if it would have got stuck in between, we would never have recovered. I don't think we could have gone back on the floor. So keeping the pandemic in mind, we lost a year also. But since the film got selected, we were very happy that we got selected at the UK Asian Film Festival. That gave us a lot of boost and got
Yeah.
our confidence back, because nothing was happening for a year. I mean, we had applied to a lot of festivals, but
Mm.
I'm so glad that UK Asian selected us, and it gave us a huge traction. It gave us a big boost. After UK, Gasparilla took us in Tampa,
Oh,
Florida.
oh,
Yeah,
great. That's
yeah.
wonderful.
So yeah, we had a show on the 12th. We had a show for at the Gasparilla Film Festival in Florida, Tampa,
Oh,
and
wow.
we've just. I mean, I've not got the news out yet, and we've just been selected in Italy. Uh, so
Wow. Thank
yeah,
you so much. That's
so
amazing.
so we so definitely, as you know, you've seen the film. Amin has also seen the film, and this film has to go that in that direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully a good OTT platform should pick it up. And uh, bec- this year, though, I definitely want the film to travel. And hopefully, if by the end of the year or early 2022, if the theaters open up to full capacity, then obviously I'd like to see it released and then go to OTT.
Lovely. That's amazing.
I think cinema is going through a phase, a temporary phase, hopefully, because watching movies in a theater, in a congregation, actually is why stories were told, and people watch them. So you react not just to the story being told on screen, you react to how an audience is reacting to that story being told on screen. So you take Lagan and you come back and remember how people stood on chairs to scream when the cricket match was happening. Or you take any of these superstar films that people can't stop whistling and screaming and hooting when the actor comes on screen. Now that is what cinema, in my mind, was designed for. Even koi jane na, it was a kind of, the sensation we sold was of it was a thrilling sensation, was a sensation of fear, was a sensation of drama. Now, when you're watching it at home on an OTT platform, it's good, but you're not in a congregation, so you're not getting someone else's reactions to your story.
Yeah.
So
True.
yes, it for people who have made that kind of cinema, who are storytellers of mainstream films, we definitely miss being in a theater again. But if it's going to continue like this, and with corona being such a kind of like a disease that you can't actually be in a closed space, I mean, it helps. It makes it more difficult for people. It's scary. So for that, I would say an OTT platform is the only other alternate, and a good one. Because imagine if OTT wasn't there, then
Mm.
what would we be doing? Here you
Yeah.
can decide that you want to see a film, you go, you put it on, and it's there. You can stop it, you can pause it, you can restart it. It's always available. So OTT has been, you can say, the angel that came and rescued filmmakers like us, who had made films for a large screen audience. I've always been a mainstream storyteller, whether it was Swades, or whether it was Haunted, or whether it was all the films I wrote. Everything was mainstream. And so today I am very happy that, so my film released on the 2nd of April. On the 3rd of April, it was the tsunami of corona had come, and every theater had to, was locked down and was shut. Nobody could go, because even if they wanted to, they were scared. And
Mm.
so I'm just saying, lucky for me that OTT, the platform, is there, and today my movie is available for everyone to see. Anyone, anytime, and in 240 countries can just put on Amazon Prime and koi jaane na. So what I'm saying is, it has actually been the biggest boon for people who couldn't fulfill their dreams of releasing in mainstream films in cinemas. OTT came like that. In Hindi they say "marne wale se bachane wala bada hai."
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल हाँ हाँ
So
right.
I think OTT has been that angel that came and rescued this damsel in distress.
Indeed, very well said there. And I
And
think, yes.
and I'm telling you, I'm very, very happy and proud of Amin, my friend. I'm part of Koi Jaane Na also. I've played a small part in the film, which I
Yes.
happily did, and it was very good. And me and another friend of ours, Raj Zucchi, another Laganite. So
Oh,
we both, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see be directed by a friend. So it was more. I was being directed by a friend. It was really. It was, but I mean,
Thank
next film you have to give me a bigger role.
Yeah.
that's
Huh?
In fact, I must tell you,
Next film you have.
Anuj, these boys, my Lagaan team, even Dayashankar Pandey has given the
Yeah,
voiceover
he's
in the
given.
film. In the opening scene, the voiceover is Dayashankar Pandey's.
yeah.
And every time I was doing something or the other, and I would get a call from one of my Lagaan team members telling me, "Amin, I'm there." Aamir to stood by me. Aamir did the song for me. So it's all Lagaan, and it's all those Lagaan members and teammates who've helped us all. Bless them all.
Absolutely. And I think also I would, before we conclude as well, I think I'd also like to say that we do miss a few of the members who are no longer with us as well. They have sadly passed on. And I think on this occasion of celebrating 20 years, I think a big, huge shout out goes to them as well, because they are, of course, a very, very integral part of the Lagan team. And I think other than that, I think more than anything, like you said, and like we've discussed in this interview, and I think the prominent theme of our chat today has been about hope, and it's been about overcoming all the hurdles. And I think that's exactly what Lagan is. Lagan is life. And I think thank you to Amin, thank you Aditya, thank you Aamir, thank you Ashutosh sir for giving us such a great piece of cinema. And on that note, I think Chale Chalo is the best way we can sort of move forward in life now as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having us.
Anuj.
We had a lovely chat.
Thank you so much.
Lovely chat.
God bless
Thank
you
you.
too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.